Alright, so now that we are officially in June, like clockwork, the kids are coming home for the summer. And along with them is that one little slip of paper. It's the same type of paper that the New York Times runs. Same type of paper that NPR runs. It's the same one that libraries give out at the front door with a little chart and a gold star and a reward if you finish it. Just like Martin Luther when nailing up his thesis. Your kid comes home from school and somewhere in the bottom of the backpack under all the crumpled worksheets and stuff they never brought home, there it is. That's summer reading list. If you're my age, you probably had to do your own. Maybe you got a free Pizza Hut personal pan pizza out of it too. It's a pretty common ritual. School lets out, somebody hands you a short stack and says, here, spend your summer doing this instead of whatever generational brain rot you kids are doing these days. And believe it or not, this wasn't just to kill your summer fun. The whole point was to make sure that the 3 months that you spent taking in whatever slop of choice you did got offset by a couple of older, well-made books. You know, so you didn't backslide before fall.
Step on it, Daddy!
But let's be honest here, the easiest way to get a child to not do something that you want to do is make it a requirement. I'm sure most of us were there in English class. We were assigned a book. We hated that book because we were told that we needed to read it. But then over the years, over the decades, we realized that that was actually probably the perfect time for that book to enter our life. You can hand a 10-year-old the best novel ever written. You can stamp required on the cover and watch the love drain out of every room. I love Lord of the Rings, but my whole relationship with it might have gone a little bit differently if I wasn't forced to read the entire Fellowship trilogy over the course of like one summer. And so here is the interesting question buried underneath all of this. Not what belongs on that list. To me, it's whether love, a passion for something can be assigned at all. So the reason that I've been chewing on this, my kids are now home for the summer, and like a lot of kids these days, mine don't really vanish in the books for 3 months. They vanish in the games. They still like to read, but obviously gaming is going to be their first medium choice. And I don't know if anyone's told you, but video games are old now. The first one that most people would recognize is past 50. Pac-Man and Tetris live in the Museum of Modern Art. The Library of Congress preserves them the way that it preserves film. As a culture, we've already decided that this is a real medium with real history and real impact. But if you were to go to school for any of these older mediums, be it film, literature, music, what have you, you spend half your time facing backward. What came before and why it mattered. The past is the curriculum. You learn the canon so you're allowed to break it and add to it later. Gaming's got a little bit of that now. USC, the University of Southern California, the best one, even runs a games history class. But look where it lives. It lives inside of their film school, the one that's been around since 1929, considered one of the most prestigious film programs in the entire world. The games program bolted onto it is about 25 years old, and that makes it one of the oldest that there is. At 25. They didn't grow that reverence for the medium's past. In my opinion, they kind of borrowed it from the building next door. And I mean, like I said, credit where credit's due. It's USC. When something reaches that level of higher education, we should celebrate it. But that's not a door that the average kid walks through. In a way, it's kind of its own lottery ticket. The kid at home with a controller and a backlog isn't getting into USC film school to study the history of video games. So for him, for everyone else's kids, there isn't really a class or a canon. No one is really handing it down except through 8-hour-long YouTube videos made by people who are just autistic fans of this medium. But that's where we go back to the summer reading list. It's for everyone. It comes free with a library card, because having fun isn't hard when you got a library card. The gaming version of this barely exists outside of a few hundred people at the most selective film school in the country. For the rest of us, it's video game reviews, it's algorithmic feeds, it's whatever is hot the week that they are picking up the controller. So I wanted to do the obvious thing that nobody's doing. I'm making a summer gaming list for my kids. And like the reading list, my reasoning is a little bit more multifaceted than it looks. So I sat my kids down and I told them that I'm going to have them play at least one game that I choose from them over the summer. And the whole purpose is maybe that way they will gain some appreciation for older games. They will be able to actually sit and play through a single player game because of the fact that they're siblings and they live in an online world. They spend a lot more time playing online games than they do single player games. But also on top of that, it helps develop media literacy. It helps them understand what gaming can actually do as an interactive medium. And if these videos do well, they're going to get money out of it too. I know that sounds a lot like child labor, but I promise you it's not. It is me paying my kids extra allowance. But here's also some ground rules that I'm setting up for my kids and myself just to try to make this actually tolerable. I'm gonna stick to short games. They're gonna be a lot more willing to sit and play a bunch of 2 to 5 hour games than they would be me making them play a 50-hour RPG. Like, I love Brandon Sanderson, but not everyone is a freak like me. I started off with Stormlight Archive, which is how many pages? Hold on. Hey Google, how many pages is The Way of Kings?
The hardcover first edition of The Way of Kings is 1,001 pages long. The paperback edition expands to 1,258 pages.
Not everyone is a freak like me and gonna sit down and read a book that is 1,000 to 1,200 pages. And on that rating, I don't really have that many qualms here. I had a whole series that I should probably pick back up about M-rated games that I would let my kids play. So for me, it's very much set and setting and context, not the number on the box. I'll probably steer around the genuinely graphic stuff and keep it right for each kid, but subject matter over rating doesn't mean that I didn't think about them playing Metal Gear Solid 2, let's be honest. Because you know what, there's no way to get caught up on the reality of the modern world than to play a game from 2002 that basically predicted the reality of the modern world. And also, let me say, it's not like I'm gonna sit there and stick a camera in their face like FGTV or something like that. No, it's gonna be in the style of my videos that I do now. This is how my kids made me feel when they played this video game. When my kid bumped into the wall and then fell down the hole, it made me think about the perils and entrapment of modern day capitalism, you know, that kind of stuff. All right, and with all of that prelim out of the way, let's go ahead and go into my picks for my kids. Starting with my 8-year-old, she is very much a lover of things like spooky and scary right now. Not gore, nothing gory or anything like that, but she very much is a fan of that Tim Burton, Edward Gorey, Coraline, that almost type of, I guess, Gothic Whimsy. I don't know how else to describe it. So I've got two sides of the same coin for her. A new one from Double Fine on Game Pass, Keeper, the Strange and Beautiful one, where you play as a long-dead lighthouse that wakes up, grows a pair of legs, and goes wandering with a seabird for company. No words, just mood. And a classic, which, oh my god, I feel old, and Little Nightmares. A tiny kid in a yellow raincoat that's creeping through a world built for giants. Everything is a little bit too big, a little bit too wrong, a little bit too uncanny. Both tell their stories through a very similar aesthetic that my daughter already knows and loves. Now, there's probably a handful of you that are thinking that both of those games don't really have a lot of text, especially after I spent all that time talking about reading. And let me be honest why. So a few months ago, my daughter was actually diagnosed with dyslexia. She's in her school's highly capable program, so she does great with everything. But reading and spelling is where she needs the most help and the most time. So I wanted picks where she can sink into mood and atmosphere and story without really straining on the words. But that doesn't mean that I skip text entirely. First off, right off the bat, there's a game series called Duck Detective. It's a little detective noir type of game where reading clues is part of the game. My daughter is still 8 years old, going on 9, so anthropomorphized animals are still absolutely adorable to her. I think that she's going to be a great candidate to read Redwall when she is older. And also, I don't think that she's really the type that I can just drop her into Knights of the Old Republic and just have her slog through early Republic Jedi lore. I'm going to meet her where she's already brilliant. A logic game is going to click way harder than a wall of text. And if those land, the next rung could be something like Limbo or Inside. Both games are easily described as wordless puzzle platformers platformers where a small kid picks through a bleak and hostile world. Same Coraline adjacent vibe, it's very unsettling without being scary, but it's also very Cronenberg. Most 3D printed GIFs are just in the junk drawer by February. You know the ones, the little plastic dragon, the fidget toy, the thing that looked cool online and felt like a landfill in your hand. I went the other way. I make the kind that people actually keep. Everything in my shop is built to get used. Dice towers you actually roll through, dice cups, guardians that hold your set, character mugs, potion bottles, every piece printed and finished to order, sanded, sealed in the colors that you pick. So it doesn't get tossed, but it can take a tossing. It sits on their desk for years. AfterMidnightTavern.com. Real gifts by real people for real tabletop people. Next we have my 10-year-old, and this one was probably the easiest one out of all of my picks because of the fact that right now in his life he wants to be an aerospace engineer. The most obvious game that came to my mind was The Outer Wilds. I don't know how to really talk about this game without spoiling its main hook. The best way I can really describe it is you're on a spaceship, you get to travel to and explore a bunch of little microplanets. And as you're doing that, you're uncovering a cosmic level puzzle that tells a cosmic level story. A couple of reasons why I want him to play this game. First off is because I think that he would really enjoy trying to control the spaceship. Because the way that the ship controls, at least in my experience, it is something that, yes, you have to think about the physics, you have to actually do some calculations and forecasting in your brain, but at the same time, if you really just want to turn on the autopilot and just chill back and enjoy the visuals and enjoy the trip, you can absolutely do so. But this is also another game that you beat it with knowledge instead of gear. Your character doesn't get stronger, your ship doesn't get better. Your knowledge of the game makes it so you can progress further and further and further. There are real orbital mechanics, there is actual Newtonian flight, which means that there is actual tension, there is an actual science going on in the back of the kid's head while they're playing it. And this is pretty much on the absolute edge of what I would assign my kids. I'm only really suggesting this game to my son because I know that as if it hooks him, if he can get past the first hour or so of the game, which is probably the hardest part to do, he's gonna love it. And I think that I really want to see his reaction to the big, I guess, initial twist of the game. And I guess in a way this is an actual test of my whole theory. Like, does he push through the boring part to reach the wonder, much like trying to push through the parts of a book that are a slog in order for it to open up and blow your mind? Or does he bail after a couple hours because of the fact that despite learning about the main hook, he just ends up having a lot of trouble connecting all of those dots? You gotta remember, a lot of kids these days don't play a lot of these games that really test and push their mechanical knowledge and their mechanical memory. So much of the games that they play now is about instant gratification and, for lack of a better phrase, instant respawning and getting right back into the gameplay. They don't have a lot of games now that are at least quote-unquote fed to them where they actually have to sit and think about their approach. And then finally we have my 12-year-old, and she is actually probably my most casual gamer. The game that she's been playing the most right now is actually Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And the whole reason she is playing it is because she really loves the Avatar series. And from me watching her play that game, I've actually been having a really thought-provoking time in regards to, I guess, watching a new gamer or a casual gamer make an earnest attempt at gaming. And watching her play, it's really been like the most thought-provoking part and in all of this. A casual gamer making an honest run at a video game, throwing herself at the bosses and the encounters over and over, the way that you would watch a hardcore gamer die to a Dark Souls boss, and just watching her keep it on going, looking up tutorials, grinding skill points, the gamer instinct just switching on in real time. in a game that most people would just wave off as something that's for casuals. But she is also the one that I would honestly probably need the most help in regards to suggestions. We did end up having a bit of a conversation about God of War Leife, but I think it was pretty much because of the fact that I was sitting here making jokes about how her favorite singer ended up getting her own video game and Fortnite within the same year. Shout out to the jazz lady with the nice voice for getting Fortnite and God of War in like the same year. But I don't know, my gut says something that is a bit more story-centric, like a mixtape, but maybe less generational cringe. Ooh, maybe like the Walking Dead game, the first season. Ooh, okay, like, give me some comments below, but I think I might have just cracked it. And also, let me just specify I'm talking about the Telltale Walking Dead game, not the show. The video game version is a choice-driven narrative where you are tasked with keeping a little girl Clementine alive through the end of the world. It's very emotional, very brutal. I could see her getting very attached to Clementine. And yeah, with all that being said, this is the part where, like I said, I need you. I want more picks, and more than just a title in the comments, though. Tell me what game and why. Obviously, the engagement is nice, but I think this could actually be a fun conversation for those of us who grew up as gamers and are now parents that are trying to hand down this hobby in a way that doesn't just encourage them to sit and play live service games over and over again. Like, I consider gaming an art form, and so just like a summer reading list, this is one way to show how deep this art form can go. And like I said, I'm gonna probably try to make this like a summer series. I'm not gonna record my kids. I don't even think I'm gonna record them talking or anything like that. It's gonna just be me with my notes, my observations, and then just how I feel about it. So yeah, it is short video. It is gaming summer gaming fest, baby. My front door, my digital front door at least, is open all summer. So hit subscribe. I'll come back with the reports. Make sure you hit the notification bell and we'll see what happens. And I would love other parents to give me their picks for their kids and why. What are you doing to make sure that your kids are doing more than just playing Roblox and Fortnite or whatever this summer? Are you making your kids play the original Final Fantasy VII this summer? If so, let me know. Also, let me know what else you think about this idea. I want to get back to gaming videos, but holy crap, gaming videos take so long. So, I don't know. Let's see. But anyways, I have a lot of gaming that I need to get started on. So, I will talk to you all soon. And I will see you in the next one. I love you all. Bye. Also, if I ever really get like fed up with my kids during the summer, I'll make them go to their rooms and I'll tell them that they'll have to sit and just keep playing the Stanley Parable until they beat it. And if you know, you know. They're never coming out of that room.